us, but they can come on as
Hey,
they.
don't. We can wait a couple more minutes. I'm not in that big a hurry. The
Really?
salmon's not gonna, swim away. It's already cooked.
Are you on the 11 o'clock news as well? Because I can't stay up that late.
Yeah. So yeah, the 10 o'clock and 11 tonight. So I just gotta
okay.
come home for work. Usually, about 45 minutes by the time I drive here and hang out for 45 minutes, then head back. But yeah, yep. 10 o'clock news, 11 o'clock news. So of course, we're busy with the Sabres stuff that happened today. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh, whoops. Uh-oh. I'm going to show my stupidity about all things sports. I'm so sorry. Something happened with the Sabres?
Jack Eichel basically decided,
Wow.
all but said he no longer wanted to play in Buffalo. I mean,
Oh,
he didn't
boy.
say those exact words, but
Wow.
he also said,
too.
he's got to do what's best for Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
Start using your own name in third person.
Wow.
He said there was a disconnect between him and the franchise. So
Oh.
Wow.
it's not good.
That is a big deal, isn't it? I mean, isn't he kind of considered our star guy?
Yeah. When the star leaves, I don't know.
That I even recognize the name means something.
Yeah. The only name I think I know right now for the Sabres.
Oh.
My time was Breer and Drury days, so.
Those, I think everybody would prefer to forget everything that's happened since those days, really.
Yeah.
So, Josh, I'm really interested in knowing how you came to be doing what you're doing. Like, have you always been a sports guy? Did you play sports?
I did. So I grew up in Northeast Ohio, between Youngstown and Canton, Ohio. I don't know if you know where that is. I went to Kent State University. I was always the kid in school that got yelled at for talking too much, like always. It's nice now because I ran into one of those teachers that always yelled at me about a decade ago. It's like, I now get paid to talk. He said, that's perfect for you. So worked out pretty well. Yeah, I went to Kent State University, close to where I grew up, and and then it's kind of in this industry, you have to go wherever you can get a job. That's kind of the way it works. So I ended up living in Hagerstown, Maryland, which I had never even heard of. I didn't know it existed in the United States. I lived there for 3 years and worked at the station there, and then slowly worked my way up. I was in literally and figuratively worked my way up geographically, because then I went to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I was there for a decade, covering Penn State football. And then I've been here now this will be my 7th Bills season coming up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've seen a tremendous evolution then for them, right?
Yeah, I got my first year that I got here was Rex Ryan's first year, and that didn't go great. So so it was good, because I remember thinking midway through his first season, I'm gonna last longer than Rex Ryan in Buffalo. So and I was right. So yeah, I was here for both of Rex's years, and then all of going on Sean's 5th year, which is crazy to think that Sean McDermott's going on his 5th season as the Bills head coach, because that just doesn't seem right mathematically, but it's gonna happen. Yeah, so that puts us to where I am today.
So you must be excited, right? I mean, I think all football, I know Dave, my mythical boyfriend, is extremely excited about this new turn of events here.
Yeah, you're as a journalist, you're not supposed to cheer for a team or root for a team and that kind of, but our jobs are way easier when they're good. I mean, people are interested, which is always better than them not being interested. And B, it's just the players are in a better mood. The head coach is in a better mood. The general manager's in a better mood. Everybody's in a better mood. And no, I will say there are certain people in our industry who I think kind of prefer when the players are mad, which I don't understand. I prefer to be around people who are in a good mood. So that's just easier for me.
So do you have any particular favorite players that you like a lot? Just either personally or because of their work?
Yeah, one of the guys that I've been able to have a little bit of a relationship is Dion Dawkins. He does. We have a Buffalo Kickoff Live pregame show that we do every Sunday. And last year, Dion was part of the show. We were able to talk him having his own little segment. He's just a great guy. I mean, genuine, fun. I mean, fun, like a big kid. And he's just a good guy. And it was nice because, and obviously they won a lot more than they lost last year, but even when they lost, he was more than happy to come on, and he understood that was kind of the deal, win or lose, he would come on and talk, and it was, so Dion is definitely somebody who's, who I have a good relationship with. I would
So,
like to think none of them hate me, though. I hope not. I don't think so.
but even though you're like working out of Buffalo, you're not really supposed to have like a favorite team?
No, not really. I mean, because the issue you get into a little bit would be, if you get, you become too buddy with some of the players or the general manager or the head coach or whoever it might be, and they start playing bad. Are you reporting it the way that it should be reported, or are you kind of putting on the rose-colored glasses and saying trying to protect people and stuff like that? So I think that's kind of the worry. But I mean, I'm also not. The TV industry isn't as, we only have 2.5, 3 minutes every day, for every sportscast. So we're not going into depth looking at, this guy's doing this. To me, my theory is, I'm very self-aware. My theory is, if I'm a fan, I want to hear what the players have to say. I don't want to hear what Josh Reed has to say for 3.5 minutes. Like, get me to the player. Let me hear from the coach. So I always look at it as I'm kind of like just the messenger. Just hey, here's what he talked about, and here's what he had to say. Now it's different depending on, you're working in TV news, and a good friend of mine is Sal Capaccio from WGR 550. Well, Sal, I mean, those guys have 3 hours to fill. I mean, so they have to do that stuff. They have to give more opinions, and it becomes more of that. Whereas when you have 3 minutes, it's, hey, Jack Eichel's not happy to be in Buffalo. Here's what he had to say today. It's kind of like that,
So here's the most important question I can ask.
Uh-oh, you froze.
That was her question.
That was it.
Suspense.
Now, if I don't want to answer it, I'll pretend like I'm frozen.
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, that's kind of interesting to all of us here, since we're all pretty much dog people.
Wait, we really didn't hear your question.
Yeah, we really didn't hear you.
No
You just
question,
froze.
Paula.
Oh, you didn't hear my question? Oh, how weird. Okay, what I asked was, do you know if any of the players have a special love for dogs?
Oh, the majority of them, Dion included. I know Dion has a dog. In fact, 2 seasons ago, Dion's dog, most of them live in the Hamburg Orchard Park area. Dion's dog escaped. And there was like a mad hunt for his dog. And like, of course, Dion having the following that he does on social media, he tweeted a picture of the dog and said, hey, I'm looking for the dog. And he's got hundreds of people searching for the dog throughout Orchard Park. Now they found the dog, so it was a good end of the story. But I would say maybe 80% of the players and coaches have a dog. I mean, it's really high. In fact, Haley Bean, which is the general manager Brandon Bean's wife, Haley, she has I don't want to say it's an adoption agency because I'm not 100% sure, but it directly works with getting pets adopted. And I don't think it's just dogs. I think it's cats and dogs. And she does a great job, though. That's kind of, you see that a lot around the NFL, where a head coach and a general manager will get to a city and they find a charity that they decide they want to work with. Josh Allen's a good example. O'Shea's is like his big, he does other things too, but I know he's big on O'Shea's Children's Hospital and doing stuff with them. And guys usually do that. They pick one or two, really get involved with it. But Haley, Brandon's wife, does a lot with pets and animals.
Well, we always like to hear that, and then of course we always like to think that someday we can get our big fat foot in that door as well.
Yeah, I wish I could help you with that.
Oh, that's okay.
That's above me. But yeah, I'm sure she's reachable though. I mean, everybody's on social media anymore. I mean,
Right.
and
Yeah.
She's definitely on social media. She does a great job too. I don't remember. Look it up. I'm trying to think of what her.
So the first time you were on, did you get nervous?
On TV?
Yeah,
Oh,
the first
yeah.
time you were on TV, did you get nervous?
Oh.
Do you get stage fright?
Oh yeah. Her, just real quick, her thing is she's with the SPCA, but she's got her own little division and it's called Bill's Mutfia.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's MUTTFIA, Bill's Mutfia.
Cool.
That's cute.
She works with rescues.
Thank you. I just wrote that
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. So she does a great job of getting. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, of course I was nervous the first time because you put a lot of hard work into it and you go to school for it and you study it and you think that you're going to be good. You hope that you're good. And well, I should say this. You think you're going to be good. You got to have a little bit of confidence to get in front of a camera and just talk and so you think you are, but then when the camera comes on, you're really hoping. You're like, man, if I'm not good at this is going to be an issue. I'm gonna have to find out what plan B is pretty quick because the bills don't pay themselves. So, but luckily, I've tricked different places for 20 years into hiring me. So it's been a pretty good run so far.
So you don't have to answer this one either, but do you have any inside info on anybody that you could share? Any funny stories or any kind of cool little anecdotes about some of the players?
I don't
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I do. I can share with you my favorite story out of
Okay.
just like I said, it's been 20 years, so I've gotten a chance to meet some, pretty cool people. And but there was a pitcher for the Yankees a long time ago named Whitey Ford, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and he was at the Yankees, and this guy's one of the best to ever play Major League Baseball. And his catcher was Yogi Berra, who was also in the Hall of Fame and really well known. And he's known for Yogiisms. Guy was a little bit known as a space cadet a little bit, and just kind of would say stuff that never really made sense. One of his more famous ones, after a game, he told a reporter, when you come to a fork in the road, you take it, which makes no sense at all, but whatever. So Whitey Ford was pitching. Now this was back in the, I don't know. I think they played in the 50s, 30s. So this was a long time ago, going on almost 100 years, probably 80 years or something. So I'm interviewing Whitey Ford at my first job ever. And we're sitting there and we're talking. And I got lucky because there was only one TV station in the town because it was so small. So I'm sitting there with this legend and he's just telling me random stories. And I turn the camera off and he keeps telling stories. And I'm just sitting there wide-eyed, just listening to all these stories. So the Yankees manager, they were winning bunch of World Series. They were really good. And the manager, his name was Casey Stengel. Casey Stengel's also in the Hall of Fame. So you're talking about three of the greatest people that have ever worn jerseys, not only in baseball, but the Yankees, which is, huge. Well, they said that Whitey Ford said that he was pitching the one game, and his first pitch, the guy hit a home run against him. And his second pitch, the guy hit a single. The third pitch hit the batter. The fourth pitch, the guy hit a home run. So he's thrown 4 pitches. Casey Stengel goes out to the mound and they have the little meeting on the pitcher's mound and everything. And Casey Stengel goes out there and looks at Whitey Ford. He looks at Yogi Berra, and Yogi Berra is the catcher, so he's out there and he says to Yogi Berra, he was like, "What, does he not have it today? Does he just not have his good stuff today?" And Yogi Berra smiled and said, "I don't know. I haven't caught one of his pitches yet." Because every single pitch that he threw, all 4 of them either were home runs or got hit by a pitch. So he said, and that was kind of Yogi. And another story that he shared, this one's a little shorter. I think this is unbelievably good. So there's a place called Monument Park at Yankee Stadium. And it's a tribute to, players who played for the Yankees. And out there is a plaque. And on it is every person who has ever passed away who has played for the Yankees at one time or another. It doesn't have to be a Hall of Famer. Just anybody who's ever worn a Yankees uniform, their name is on this plaque. Yogi Berra had gone through a falling out with George Steinbrenner, who was the longtime owner, who's passed away since, the longtime owner of the Yankees. He had a falling out. George Steinbrenner and Yogi, they were butting heads. And basically, Yogi hadn't been back to Yankee Stadium in over 10 years, 15 years. Well, they had a big reunion, and Whitey Ford talked Yogi into going back for this big reunion that the Yankees were having. Well, Yogi told Whitey to meet me there early. I'd like to walk around and look around because I haven't been back in so long. So they get there really early. Like, they went through a security gate there was an empty stadium hours before the first pitch. And they get out there and they do a little touring and everything. And Whitey says, "Hey, I've got to use the restroom." And Yogi says, "Okay, I'm going to be at Monument Park. I'm going to go look at that and walk around there." So Whitey leaves him for 10 minutes and comes back, and he walks behind and he sees Yogi kind of looking at everything in Monument Park, and he's looking at the plaque. And Whitey says to me, "I felt like, wow, what a kind of like a magical moment this is. Like if you could be a fan in here right now and seeing Yogi kind of like looking at everything in this plaque." He said, he walked up next to Yogi and stood next to him, and he said, "I just thought that would be a good time to just not say anything and just be quiet and stand here and look at the names on this plaque of everybody who's passed away." And he said the silence lasted about 3 seconds because Yogi said, "Man, I hope I never see my name on this plaque." Which Whitey said, "Well, I'm pretty sure you're never going to see your name on that plaque." So that was kind of, like I said, he shared an hour's worth of these stories. And that was one of those moments. And that was my first year in my industry. So
Wow.
Years since then, I've covered Super Bowls and Rose Bowls and the World Series. And still to this day, when people ask me, "Hey, what are some of your more fun stories and everything?" It's legendary because you're talking about Hall of Famers, so the level they are, and then just kind of just the story behind it and everything. So,
I'm going to let people ask you some questions because I bet there are some.
sure.
I think that if you don't mind, because I'm monopolizing all your time, and I'm sorry. So anybody want to ask Josh anything?
Ask now.
How old were you when you started?
I was 23. So when I went to Kent State, I was 18. I went there for a year and a half, and it did not go well. I was enjoying myself. I had a lot of fun those first 3 semesters. And I'll never forget, I stood in the kitchen with my mom, and I was the first one of my family to go to college. And it meant a lot to my mom and my dad. And I remember telling my mom, "I think I need some time off." And my mom was just devastated. Like, she was just heartbroken. And, "Oh man, I really want to see you follow through on this." And my dad said, "I'll get him a job." And my dad got me a job. And I grew up my dad owns an excavating company. So I grew up on the wrong end of a shovel for most of my life. Like, I get what real work looks like. I am very blessed to wear a suit to work every day. And my dad got me a job with a friend of his who bends steel rods with a machine by hand. like
Huh.
you pull on it, and it sucked really bad. And
Made you go back to school.
it did not take long to realize I'm going to need to go back to school.
Yeah.
Whole thing, because that was not the way I envisioned bending steel rods with my hand. And you know what it was for? You'll know what it's. You when I tell you what it made, you'll know. You know the hanging planters in gardens that they have like the swoop up.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Those rods that kind of go like this and have the swoop
Wow.
up. So yeah, we were. Yeah, that's
You had to
what
do
I
that
was-
by
yeah.
hand?
Well, there was a machine you put it in, and then you'd have to pull it. And
Wow.
Yeah.
so then I went back after a semester of no school. I went back, and then I made the dean's list. So obviously I did a lot of growing up. But yeah, and then so yeah, I took the long road through college. I took the fun road, but I took the long road. But yeah, and then yeah, so 22, 23 maybe by the time I actually got, because when I graduated, the internship I was at in Youngstown, this really small station, the news director said, look, your internship's up. We don't have anything for you on camera, but if you would like to be a part-time camera person and kind of get your foot in the door, and you can work on your resume tape while you're here when you're not on the clock, you can do that. So I took that job. I did that for another 6 months, and then I got my first job opportunity. And just so happened that the guy who hired me, my industry is pretty small. Like you kind of end up knowing pretty quickly. You end up knowing people that know somebody, really, for better or worse, because
Yeah.
it's not always a good thing. But the guy who hired me was actually from Youngstown, grew up there for my first job. I went down and he interviewed me. And afterwards I said, hey, meanwhile I had no money, like I had no money. And I remember saying, hey, after you guys are done with the sportscast tonight, I'm staying in town overnight. I want to take you guys for beers. I said, we won't talk about the job. We're just sports guys hanging out at the bar, having a beer, watching games on TV. And of course, they weren't making any money either, because it's your first job. I remember my first job, it was full-time in TV. I made $16,000 a year. I was a substitute teacher 3 days a week, and I made more substitute teaching than I did. Yeah. So I took them out for beers, and we're standing around and 1, 2, 3 beers maybe. And there was a beer that I'd never had before. It was called Yingling Lager.
Yeah.
In Ohio, we didn't have that, but it's a huge thing in Pennsylvania and Maryland. They said, you got to try this beer. It's called Yingling. I said, okay. So I had a sip of it. I was like, wow, this is really good. So I had 2, 3 and stand around. And the guy who had interviewed me said, hey, you should get a 6-pack of this to go when you go back to Ohio. And I said to him, I go, are you telling me I'm not coming back here to have Yinglings here? And he laughed, and he told me to this day, because we remained friends, he told me to this day, he goes, that's when I hired you, right there. He goes, that's when I knew. He was like, the fact that you were quick enough to go, wait, so I have to take the beer with me because I'm not coming back. He was like, that's when I knew that, yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's just funny how little things like that, and trust me, there was a hole in the wall bar, and I probably spent $24 with a tip. And I remember walking out of there thinking, oh my God, I don't know how I'm paying for this. A small investment, I guess, right?
Yeah. It worked.
It worked, yes.
Anyone else? Questions?
I have a question, Paula.
Go ahead, Maria.
Hello, Josh. I'm just
Hi.
curious, is there anybody, either alive or deceased, in any sport that you wish that you could interview? And what would you ask them?
That's pretty easy. Muhammad Ali, I think, is just what he went through. Jackie Robinson would be another one. Just the stuff that they went through during their careers, and to still maintain the focus that it takes to be, champions. And in Muhammad Ali's case, and Jackie Robinson, don't get me wrong, is one of the greatest to ever play baseball, but Muhammad Ali might be the greatest athlete of anything ever. I mean, he just decimated people for decades, for a decade. I mean, just yeah, Muhammad Ali is just, to me, that's that guy that, yeah, almost to the Whitey Ford type of thing, where I don't even care if there was a camera. Like, I'd just sit there and probably listen to stories for an hour if he would just tell them to me. Obviously, so he's the one that comes off the top of my head. And to me, it would be asking him about, you know, he converted to Islam and during his career and really kind of followed that path. And I mean, you know, you talk about a tough decision. If you haven't seen the movie One Night in Miami, it is incredible. It's really good, and Muhammad Ali is a small part of that, and it's really good. Kind of tells the backstory a little bit. Muhammad Ali would definitely be one of them. I would love to sit down and get an actual candid, honest. If I could get an honest interview, I would love to sit down with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the same room. Because if I could get an honest interview with those two, I might not ever have to work again. I'd just sell that and be done with it. Because I think that,
Yeah. Are they still talking?
well, exactly. And I just think that their relationship to me is so interesting, because I think that and let's face it, there's a lot of egos in professional sports, period. And when it comes to being probably the greatest quarterback ever and probably the greatest head coach ever, those egos don't get smaller. And just the fact that they were able to continue to be successful and tolerate each other, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I would love to know the stories between those two guys.
So do you think you'll ever write a book? I mean, is there something in your future of that nature?
I've thought about that. I think part of my issue, not issue, but part of my thing is I have a little story from here and a little story from there. And so to tie them all together into one big kind of, I don't know how I'd go about that. Yeah, I'll probably stick to the spoken word for now. The written word may be a little beyond me, at least right now. Who knows? And you know, if I'm blessed enough to do this job for another 20 years, you know, and all of a sudden I'm 65, I may change my mind on that one. But I know a lot of guys in my industry, but they're typically guys who are writers already, you know, newspaper guys who do, you know, they write books and stuff.
Well, I think I don't know. I put my glasses on so I can see what time it is. Did we overstay your welcome yet? I mean,
No, I got a couple more minutes. If there's any other questions, I got a few more minutes.
Okay, great. Because I just let me know. We could keep you here all night, so just let me know if you know, we're overstaying our welcome.
No.
Anybody another question or a new question or anything?
I do have a dog, for those of you that joined a little bit late. He's just not in the room right now.
What kind?
Barkley. He's a Catahoula leopard dog.
Wow.
Yeah, I always joke that we saved him from death row because we got him from Tennessee. Like, they brought him up, forgetting the name of the adoption agency we used. Drawing a blank. Something Paws, maybe, or I forget.
Awesome Paws.
Awesome Paws. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, that may have been it. But yeah, they were great. My wife I like dogs. My wife prefers dogs over humans.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So, you know, a couple of years ago, she really was on this, we need to get a dog. And I went, okay. I mean, I never said no. Okay, let's do it. So we looked around, and then we found, we went back and forth on, at first we went down maybe we should buy a dog. And then we quickly went to, no, we need to adopt a dog. We want to adopt. And, and been a great dog. I mean, like I said, we have a 1-year-old son, and our son climbs on him and pulls his tail, and the dog just lays there. And the dog's young too. He's dog's 2 now, so they're kind of growing up together, if you will.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's good, and he enjoys his exercise, so we get him out and run him a lot through the city. We're in the city, so we run a lot just through the park and stuff. So it's good.
Did
Now,
you know
What's
what?
your,
She's trying to talk me into a second dog. I pump the brakes on that.
It'll happen. Just
I'm
wait.
sure it will.
It'll
Sure it
happen.
will. At some point, I'll put myself into a position where that's the only way out is to get a second dog. Oh, babe, I'm sorry. Remember how you said you wanted a second dog? Okay, let's do
There
it.
you go. Save it for a rainy day.
That's right. I got that in my back pocket.
Right.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Hey, out of all the sports that are out there, what is your favorite sport to cover and why?
Football.
Yeah.
Probably football. I've got this strange thing though. I probably know more about basketball. I coached basketball. I played basketball. I played football as well, but I coached basketball, so I look at things a little differently. When Nate Oates was at UB, he and I had a really good relationship, and I'd go over to Nate's house with his family, and there was a game on. We'd watch it, and I'd ask him some thoughts, and I'd kind of tell him what I saw, and he'd kind of tell me what he saw. And so I think my brain works a little differently when I watch basketball. I enjoy covering football the most. It's especially when you live in this town. I mean, and then before this, I covered Penn State for a decade. I mean, football there it was funny because when I moved here after covering Penn State, you know, a lot of the Bills fans and, you know, people that I got to know were like, oh, wow, just wait. Bills games are insane and they're crazy. I'm like, and I covered games with 100,000 people in the stadium. So like, I get the vibe. Now, nobody was jumping through tables, but it was, I understood the general, you know, idea of what a huge crowd looked like. But yeah, I would say probably football is my favorite to cover. I will say this, I got into watching it, and I blame Jeremy White on 550 a little bit for this. I started watching this F1 series. It's on Netflix. It's like a behind the scenes look at the Formula One racing, and it's really well done. And now all of a sudden I'm like, all right, maybe I need to start watching F1 series racing. So we'll see. I'm sure that'll take up time that I probably shouldn't be using on watching TV, but I probably will.
Thanks.
so if you had to like spend a weekend, say, with some sports person, who would that be?
Gronk, no
Yeah.
doubt.
I was waiting.
I mean, I might need bail money. But I tell you what, I mean, actually, being married, probably not Gronk. Come to think of it. But
He's crazy.
that guy is just something else. I probably should have picked a golfer or something, a little more where I could just go out and golf and be safe out on the golf course.
Yeah.
But Gronk is just, that guy lives life to the fullest. And he is not going to say that there's, oh, I wish I would have done X, Y, or Z in life, because
He would have done it.
he is checking off that list quickly.
Do you get to go to the Super Bowl?
I do, if the Bills make it. You know, I went out to the AFC Championship game, and we would have gone to the Super Bowl for a week. I've covered one Super Bowl. I covered the Ravens against the 49ers when it was the Harbaugh Bowl, when both the Harbaugh brothers were the head coaches. And that was actually, I don't know if you remember this or not, that was the Super Bowl down in New Orleans where the lights went out, like in the middle of the game. And I remember sitting in the stadium thinking, this isn't good. Like, you know, your mind immediately goes to, is this some terrorist thing? Is this,
Right.
you start immediately thinking, you know, oh my, are we under attack right now? And quickly you start looking at other media people going, what do we do? And they, they made an announcement 5 minutes later that we had a problem with the lighting, we blew a fuse, blah, blah. So then you calm down and everything. But yeah, but that was the only Super Bowl I've covered so far. Hopefully there's one for Buffalo coming up next year.
Yeah.
Now, do you wish that you had been here? Well, you would have been maybe too young, but had been here for the golden years, the former golden years of
Yeah,
the
I don't
Buffalo
think they would have
Bills.
let a 10-year-old into that locker room, especially after I heard some of the things that happened in that locker room. They definitely wouldn't let a 10-year-old in there. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, you mentioned that, like, the Chris Drury days and Sabres and stuff like that. It's interesting now since I moved here, hearing fans reflect on those kind of glory years. And it's also interesting that that's faded a little bit over the last couple of years for the Bills because they've become good again. And it's not that constant reminder that, oh, we haven't been good since Jim Kelly was the quarterback. Now it's Josh Allen broke Jim Kelly's record. Another one. It's kind of that. It's, wow, this team is going to the first AFC Championship game since the Bills did it, 20 years ago. But the Sabres, it's definitely still a thing. It's, wow, we haven't been good in over a decade. Here we go again. But yeah, I mean, it would have been fun, obviously, to cover those teams. And there's still guys who work in the media here in Buffalo that covered those teams. And we sit around at dinner, when we're on the road for games, usually Saturday night, a bunch of us get together and have dinner together and just kind of talk. You just sit around and listen to the stories from those glory days. It's pretty interesting and fun.
Wow. I'll just tell you this one thing really fast. I used to play rock and roll in a band, and our band got a gig playing for Jim Kelly. And when my agent called me, it was a golf thing that Jim Kelly did every year in East Aurora, all the players. When my agent called me, she said, I have this gig for you. You're going to be really excited. And I said, okay, what is it? And she said, it's for Jim Kelly. And there was a car dealership on Niagara Falls Boulevard, Jim Kelly Volkswagen. And I said to her, why do I care about the guy who sells Volkswagens? Because I had no idea who Jim Kelly was.
Oh, that's funny. That's great.
That's the truth. Sorry, I just wanted
Sure,
to share
that didn't hurt his sales. I can't imagine that hurt his sales.
Yeah, really.
The Jim Kelly dealership.
Probably
right?
not.
Well, I often get asked if I'm the Josh Reed that was the receiver for the Bills because
Oh.
guy, there are a few people who still follow me on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure they think I'm that guy. And I'm like, I don't know if you've ever seen the other Josh Reed, but we look nothing alike. We just don't. We couldn't even be we couldn't even be brothers. Like, that's not, he can't be my dad. Or I am his dad, I think, because he's younger than me. But,
Anybody else? Question? No? Listen, Josh, this has been wonderful. I'm so
Absolutely.
grateful that you joined us tonight. That was just terrific of you.
yeah,
And,
thanks for having me.
What a wonderful way for us to end our speaker series, man. Yes. Awesome. And like I said, I don't even like sports, and I found this whole thing really entertaining. So yay you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, thanks for having me. Let me know if I can help out down the road.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
Josh.
Bye.
Thank
Have a
you
good
very
night.
much.
Have a good
Take
week.
care.